Oh, there she is. Just sitting out there on 3 wheels. Tripoding. Oh, better grab the keys. Oh, there are no keys. Okay. So this is a 1990 Maserati 222 SE, more commonly known as a Biturbo, because that's what the original models were released as in 1970. Oh, Jesus, something. I paid the princely sum of $2,000 dues for this car. It is currently registered. I don't have the plates. It's not in my name, but it is registered. It's currently sitting on 3 wheels. I've been slowly working through figuring out what the hell is going wrong with it. Yeah, parts aren't super abundant, and that's kind of slowing my progress a little bit. I just had the rear rotors machined because the discs are super difficult to get. You can't really see it from here, but they're covered in lanolin still because this thing's going to be sitting for a little bit longer. I got the front disc off on the one side. The other side's actually seized, so trying to roll this thing is very difficult. The engine does start. I can demonstrate that. Done a few little things to it. Interior's not so bad. 71,000 Ks, it reckons. Over, 35 years. So it's not a huge amount of mileage, but it's probably spent most of his time in the shop. So there are no keys at the moment, so what I've done is I've drilled the back of this key barrel out. It had like a pin going through it, and then these folded over tabs in the casting I've filed away, and I've basically pulled apart the whole key barrel, pulled all the wafers out, and it still works. You just turn it. And if you can see, I've lock wired it together to keep the thing from falling apart. I think I've done a pretty neat job of that. But I do have a proper key barrel on the way, second hand. I was looking at eBay for a long time. You can get new ones for maybe like $600 Australian, but I found a cheaper one after looking for a while. Oh my god. That's Sky. She's our foster dog. And this is Dustin. He's our first boy. Little patch on his head. He's been running along the fence and skinned himself like an idiot. He has a tendency to do that kind of stuff. This is not how I usually leave my garage, but this is my little pile of tools I've been using because the shed is chockers at the moment. So yeah, the Maserati lives out here getting covered in jacaranda leaves, and when it gets wet it smells like piss. This is the key. That's what I was grabbing. I'll just run around the front, pop the bonnet. It was really difficult to figure out how to do this when I first got it, but I think I've got the knack now. Got some new struts for it because they were dead. They came off AliExpress and they fit perfectly. There were maybe like 3 or 4 products I found on AliExpress that would suit the Biturbo, and those were the ones I needed. So kind of crazy. It's missing the airbox. I've got pictures of it in a previous life with an airbox. Didn't arrive here with an airbox. Not easy to get your hands on. There's a few on eBay at the moment. Just so much money. $800 to get it here. I paid $2,000 for the car, so it's kind of like, I'm a bit hesitant. So these are like little motorbike ones from Amazon for the moment, just to stop shit getting in there. It's not terribly neat at the moment. Biggest issue trying to start this thing was these relays are painful. So I've got a bunch of these fused relays from J-Car. And see, they're like just 4-pin ones. So the Italian cars and Italian wiring. Standard 5-pin relays are like a crossover relay, so you're going from one pole to the next when it's energized. So you're swapping the power, whereas the ones from the Maseratis put power to the 2 pins or none. So it's either, so it's not like this, excuse the bird, and then this, it's this, and then that, if that makes sense. Plus some of the pins are swapped around, so I've had to pull these blocks off, swap some of the pins in the blocks, and then use a little connector, dodgy I know, to connect the 2 pins so that the 4-pin can be used in place of a 5-pin. And we've got them everywhere now. They were like $8 each from J-Car, something like that. So well worth it. I've taken the whole fuse box out, and this is something that's an issue. It's like more like a power distribution board, really. Power goes in and it goes out to all the accessories and what have you from there. You get to it from the behind the glove box. Pulled it apart, tested all the connections. I found a wiring diagram online so I could check the continuity between all the pins, and it looked okay. So back in it goes. There are people that do aftermarket upgrades for those. You basically replace what's like a flexible plastic circuit board with a printed circuit board and soldered components. Again, like €900 for that thing. It just doesn't make sense with comparison to what I spent on the car. So yeah, let me start it up, and you can see that it actually goes. Didn't when I got it, but that came down to the bit of fuses, bit of wiring in the boot, and the fuel pump. Bought an eBay fuel pump. It's just like a standard 044 style thing. No, except with the barbs on either end. So I don't know the correct term for that one, but anyway, super cheap. I think it was listed as a VL Commodore or V Commodore pump, external pump, and it cost me $40, which I think is pretty crazy. Anyway, it works. Got a nice filter from Repco. Okay, steering lock was on. You can hear the pump going. I don't know if you can hear that in the audio, but I'll start it up and show you that it actually works. Ooh. So, I'll try and speak up now. It goes through a bit of a cycle with that cold start, but it is definitely running, and it's running on all cylinders. And it sounds pretty good, I reckon. So I'll leave that going for a bit. The thermal fans will come on in a bit, but I'll just keep it warming up. Yeah, there we go. It's starting to figure out what the fuck it's doing with the coolant temp and what have you. Yeah, so I mean, what it took is a bit of fuel, bit of new fuel, bit of fault finding with the multimeter just around the car, making sure that I could getting voltage and 12 volts across all the points for fuel pump and what have you. So relays was part of the issue, wiring was part of the issue. Got the pump working and then started a few times and then the pump died on me. That was probably due to rust in the fuel tank, so the filter was like almost clogged. Replaced that with an inline filter. Yeah, I wish I'd had some video of this because I'm just talking about it, but doesn't sound like a lot to get it going, but just quite a few days and nights of fault finding really. Getting it here was an absolute pain. It was only actually a few suburbs over. I hired a trailer, towed it on the Forester, and then I couldn't reverse up the drive. Yeah, it was just a bit too much load with the car trailer and what have you on the auto box, so just kind of standing still with a foot flat in reverse. But anyway, we got it up forwards, drove into the grass here, and then pushed it off, but that's when we realised the wheel was seized. So pushing it here was an absolute nightmare, and at the moment it's just stayed here for the last maybe 4 weeks or so, but anyway, it's actually running, which is grouse. Things to do. So I just got the front rotors off last night and then took the front hub off. That was a bit noisy when I tried spinning it, so you know, and I bought the wrong brake pads and fun stuff like that as well. Apparently it's an E28 front brake pads, these ones. DB256 is the generic number. It took me so long to figure that out. I bought the rears for an E28 mistakenly, which are very similar shape, so they looked alright in the picture. Far too small. True stop, DB2ST, TS for true stop. DB2 is the rear pad shape. There's a front rotor with a nice fat lip on it. Not gonna reuse that. I found a 2020 Toyota Corolla disc that's almost identical, just has the wrong bolt pattern, and I'll get that modified by a machinist friend, and that'll work really well, and I can get some DBA versions for like, they're on sale for like $80 each at the moment, which is crazy cheap. This is the front hub. So it's like a taper bearing style with two different sizes. I'm yet to take the seal out of the back because I haven't found a replacement, but I think I'm having some luck online. There's a bearing shop near my work that'll be open on Monday, so I can try and order some seals in. But these seals, these bearings, these tapered roller bearings, are exactly the same as what you can buy from Bunnings to suit your trailer with Holden Allium style hubs. So it's the same inner race and cage and the same outer race. I'm gonna go find some stake nuts to replace these. I think they're an M20, but I don't know. I'm gonna go check at my local parts store. They have some Kelpro ones at the Repco. Yeah, it was just a bit noisy, so I'm not going to put it together like it is. I will put it together nicely. At the moment, because it's here, sorry, I'll just show you quickly. Here's the rear rotor that was remachined. Hard to get. Look at that. Look how fucking tall that is. Put a bit of lanolin on there for now, just to stop the face from getting too rusty. Here's a bunch of parts and stuff that came with it. Again, please excuse the garage. This is not what it looks like usually, but I've been doing a lot of work on keeping this thing alive. It's almost at 360,000 Ks on it at the moment. 385, sorry, is distance to the moon average. Yes, everyone I brought up that distance to has told me that, oh well, you know, is that the actual distance? It's like, oh yeah, it changes. I get it, that's the average. Anyway, that's the marker. 38. When that gets to 385, it'll be called the moon buggy, but at the moment it's just called Bluey. Yeah, so it runs. It's going alright. I'm kind of doing this video because it's almost like a tradition from the previous owner who had updates on it. Before I bought it, he sent me a link to his YouTube to look at videos and see what I was actually getting myself into. His name was Nick, so shout outs to Nick who sold me this cheap. Okay, so some fun Maserati things. It's idling at around 700 RPM. You can see that there's a little stalk that stops it from dropping below 400, so I think that just has to do with the Italian wiring going on. I'm allowed to say that because my partner is Italian. Speedo starts at 25, so at the moment I'm doing 25 kilometers an hour according to this thing. Oil pressure looks good. Water temp doesn't work. I know there's water in there. I put my finger in it. and the float bowl, no, not the float bowl, the header tank before, and voltage. If I give that a little blip, does that move? Yeah. Something's moving. Well, it seems like the alternator's working, so that's good. You know, some of this stuff actually works. Like here's the window. Actually does its thing. The little adjuster. It's really loud, but it does work. You know, we've got AC. That's, well, it's not AC. It's not charged, but it's fan blows stuff, and the buttons do things. Woof. Geez, blowing a few cobwebs around in there. Okay, let's see what happens when I put my foot down. Oil pressure seems to stay the same. Sound lovely, and then it goes into like a weird little it does move under its own power, I do know that. 32-year-old body trying to get out of the car. It does smell a bit smoky, and that's because when I bought the thing, a bloody rat had made its home in the engine bay. I'll turn it off for now, I'll show you. That's better. So down here was full of hay and grass and what have you. Oh, something's popped off. Where's that popped off? What could this be? Oh, looks like a little straw. It must go there, I'd say. Maybe down the back. I think I'll have to replace that. Oh well. As I was saying, there was a nice big hay ball nest down there, and this part of the loom that I've since wrapped up and repaired was completely chewed through. So there's a bunch of sensors and wires and power for the injectors and all this kind of stuff. It was chewed through basically this side of the engine. So I mean, it does the injectors plus this I think it's a pressure inducer sensor, the water temps, some of the cam sensors, all that kind of stuff. The wiring was just buggered, so I fixed that, and I can still smell. It just smells like grass burning, like leaves. So the turbo's pretty hot down this side. We'll get that sorted. What's going on? Yeah, so these engines are like, it's a 2.8 18 valve, so that's for a 6-cylinder, that's 2 inlets and 1 exhaust. Overhead cam, it's got a belt. God, I don't know when that's been last changed, so I'm a little nervous about that, having to change that. 250 horsepower, they reckon, or 184 kilowatts. I think my math is right. Oh, Jesus. I think my math is right there. If not, I'll correct myself later, but yeah, pretty cool little car. Like I said, it's a 1990. You wouldn't be remiss for thinking it's an 80 something or a 70 something. They didn't change them for a long time. They basically ran this shape all the way into 94 or 95 from the 70s, which is crazy. Gandini, Marcello Gandini. Oh jeez, I butchered that probably, but I don't know if he did the original styling, but he definitely did this facelift, which includes the little light shrouds and the front bumper and all that stuff. Obviously needs attention. I'm a real fan of the mesh grille. Just screams Maserati to me, just from the models I'm more familiar with in the early 2000s and what have you, like the sporty versions of the 3200 GT and that kind of stuff. Don't quote me, please. I'm going to get a lot of stuff wrong, but yeah. These wheels, I think they are an ROH wheel. So I think they're Australian made. So they're either an Australian market option, or some owners sold the original wheels at some point, which is a little disappointing. Basically everything else is original. As far as I'm aware, that steering wheel looks a bit, it matches, but could be aftermarket. Anyway, the plan with this thing is to get it up and running. You know, I think what I'll do is get it mechanically sorted, and then I'll drive it to the glazier or auto glazier around the corner, get the screens popped out, drive it back home, which is only maybe 500 meters, and sort this rust out, because there's a bunch of rust. Really common areas like here and around the bases of the windows, which is why the screen needs to come out. And then I'll get a friend to come and help me do some metal work, and then I'll just primer it up and run it like that for a while. Maybe go to a few car meets, maybe go up to Queensland Raceway if we got time. But yeah, it's a cool little car. That is not the factory badge. Used to have like a Maserati script here and like a block letters, and then the logo, the oval shaped logo, and then a 222 SE here. No clock on this one, curiously. They're known for their oval type clock that usually sits right here. There were some that had a digital version, and this one has nothing, which is odd because both other versions would have had a hole in that piece of wood trim to suit. So could it have been optioned without? Maybe. Anyway, Maserati 1990, sorry. 222 SE. I'm claiming it as the cheapest Maserati because it's registered and it was driving, and there's no reason why it can't drive except for the fact that it's got no brakes. So the goal of this project is to spend this much money on it because I paid this much money for it.